I've gotten a chance to read my book and I write about agro-process and value addition as the key to development of our country, Uganda. Like I told you, at an individual level, you have to identify your points of strength and points of weakness, which you have to use towards actual individual prosperity. The same applies to societies and countries. When you look at a country like Uganda, we are very blessed with very good fertile soils. We are blessed with good climate. We are blessed with a young, energetic population of 42 million, currently 42 million people. So, in my own assessment, I find it prudent that if Uganda is to move forward, we should focus on agriculture, but mainly agro-processing and additional value, because that element would create demand for agro-produce. If you create demand for agro-produce, more Ugandans who have abandoned their land will go back and tilt it to get produce. We should do agro-processing, focus on the domestic market, focus on the regional market, as well as the international market. I said last time that when you look at the dynamics today, we are so dependent, we import things of up to $7.8 billion a year. So now imagine, and most of these things come from raw materials of agro-produce. So imagine if we could improve and put the industries, the processing units here, we would do what we call import substitution. The things we've been getting from outside would be able to make them here. And not only that, we would improve on our export to our neighboring countries, or even to an international level. So I feel agro-processing and additional value is a key to our development. For me, most Ugandans limit development to Kampala. Kampala is just one city. Uganda will be developed that day you will see Spear Motors put a dealership branch in Arua or in Kotido or in Mbarara. That means the person in Arua has got ability. Because if a business to move to a certain area, it first makes an assessment. They first make an assessment to see if there is ready market for such an item. When you go to countries like the States, you find someone is born in Manchester, he lives in Manchester, and he dies in Manchester, when he has never even crossed to New York, and he doesn't have that desire. So if we create demand for produce for farmers at their levels, we would only be giving them income. Government would focus on looking for markets and diversification of the of business people that have come out to spearhead this processing unit. Let me say it clearly. Agro-processing and value addition is the only clear path to prosperity of our motherland, Uganda. Because you see, it brings productivity to all Ugandans there. What grows nations is productivity of the masses. I told you last time, despite the fact that we have 42 million people, registered taxpayers are 1 million people. So how can 1 million people pay taxes to maintain 42 million people? There is no way Uganda can ever develop. Right from the dynamics. We lack productivity on ground. If you do agro-processing and value addition, for those people out there, first of all, you'd have created for them income. Because when you create demand, they go into produce. When they produce, you buy the item. Now when you give them income, you can then tax. They become eligible, or they qualify to be taxpayers. So you would have widened the taxpayers' base. Actually, I don't believe in government increasing taxes on the already existing taxpayers. My idea is that we should widen the tax base. How can we get more people paying taxes? That way, these people will be able to improve their lives, pay taxes, and government will be able to provide what we call common secondary facilities like roads, hospitals. Who gives you a right to complain about government's failure to develop your country when you have zero contribution to the national budget? Anyway, I'm thinking within perimeters of reason. Like I told you, I wrote a book, Success and Failure, based on reason. A person who has zero contribution to the national budget has no right to blame anyone, to point fingers as to why they have failed to develop their country. Why do you ask for medicine in hospitals when you pay zero taxes? But still, government should endeavor, I'm not saying that it's their fault, government should endeavor to make sure they create demand for agro-produce because we have good climate and fertile soils. So, if these people grow these items, these produce, we put it in processing units, and that way we're able to look for markets. We're able to do quality commodities that can even compete at an international level. And that way our country shall develop. The answer to our development is not merely in politics. It is on building structures and systems that are beneficial to all Ugandans at large. I'm not a politician, so I'll leave it at that, but that is my personal assessment to that regard. What do I think should be done to see that Uganda as a country develops? Uganda as a country will only develop if development cuts across the entire country, and it's not limited to Kampala. Most people that are making noise on social media, these are people that you find that he has never even left the boundaries of Kampala or Uganda and is making noise. Ugandans, we should open our minds to a broader picture. We shouldn't be limited to a small, narrow way of reasoning. When you see yourself as a Ugandan, look at Uganda at large. Look at Kalamoja, look at Mbarara, look at Iteso, look at Uganda from a collective point of view. Don't narrow. If political decisions are made in a narrow perspective of Kampala, then the country is doomed at large. Anyway, that is my input. And the common thing we have in Uganda that joins all of us is agriculture. So if we improve agriculture, livestock, poultry, all that, I think the country has got a chance to grow, whereby a person can grow cotton in Arua and he can be able to afford the latest Mercedes-Benz from Arua. Where international schools will not only be limited to Kampala, but will open branches in Arua due to demand, because people out there have equally got income now. Any other question? One being that in one of the chapters in my book, I said, you see, when you are reading a document, you should read it as a whole, not partially. And I will give you justification to that from a reasonable and realistic point of view. I said from the beginning, when girls are born, they look up to their fathers. Their fathers are their kings and their heroes. When they are leaving their fathers' homes, they opt, you come and vibe, you get her. She wants the hero in you. She expects you to provide. It is not an obligation in a union between a man and a woman. It is an obligation of a man to provide. If you failed to put food in a woman's stomach, what gives you entitlement to her? If you fail to take care of her needs, because at the end of that day, I said, with or without love, survival is a constant fact of life. When we get ladies and girls, we promise them heaven on earth. I'll take care of you. I'll give you whatever you need. What happens when you don't have the capacity to even provide to her the very best needs? Because you see, she can't tell you that, look here, I think I'm feeling sick, I need to go to the hospital, and you tell her, I love you so much. That can't, it can't add up the puzzle. You understand? This is a person that requires medication, not love and emotions. So, emotions and love have a limited factor. So, in the life today, women have more chances of making it in life, even more than men, because they are naturally gifted. That is why you find that even within our companies or any other company, they would employ a woman before they would employ a man. Because women are naturally honest, more honest, I would say. Women are naturally more comforting. That's why you find them in on receptions. In most cases, all reception areas, you'll find women. But I said when it comes to choosing partners, if I were a woman, economic welfare of the partner I choose must be one of the very crucial elements. I even said that person may not have made it yet, but he should illustrate qualities that and symptoms that is thinking towards that direction. I said we live by the decisions we make. I said regardless of how much a father loves a son, he can never serve a sentence for a crime that a son committed. So if you're a woman and you choose to move forward with a poor man, then you can't complain about eating beans every day, because that is a choice you made. You understand? So if you are still at that choice level, I only advise within reasonable perimeters of survival. Hope that answers your question. Then you talked about deals. I wrote about deals and I said, you see, there are people who can get money and they have made it. That is a very wide topic when it comes to deals. In my book, actually, some of these answers someone can only get after reading my book. Now, when you look, I told you that success is a gradual process, just like a child growing up. In fact, in my conclusion, I said man is successfully born with nothing but life. Meaning that at the start, you have yourself. Then you start working from scratch until when you make it. You see what a deal does? A deal does not give you a chance to explore and exploit the processes of making it in life. I said, just simply in economic terms, there are limited resources, that's why money is limited wants. So if a person gets deal money, he will right away start by spending. He will buy a Range Rover, he will buy a nice house. What happens if you spend without income? Incomes and expenditures move hand in hand. If you're a constant spender without income, the money will run out. So what will happen after it runs out? You are stuck. That's why dealers at the end of the chain, they sell the cars, they sell the houses, and they go back. And it is very dangerous. By the time the money is finished, he has total inability to think small. He's used to high life, which he can't get deals chances. It passes once or twice. So I would advise any young man to believe in starting small and growing all the way, instead of thinking in deals. A deal renders you economically lame. A person who has ever held deal money, I won't mention names, but what happens to all people we've seen that have come to our country, our fellow young men that have come with money, where does it go? Yes, one may have lost it, and you say maybe that one is stupid. The second one may have lost it and decide that one wasn't calculative. But why is it a constant factor that at the end of the day, they have nothing? Because that comes with deal money. Deal money is temporary. In fact, in my book, I say it goes faster than even your excitement of having gotten it. Before you are brought to the fact that, look here, I've got it, it's already gone. So I wouldn't advise. That's why you see in most cases it's very sad for these young men. Some of them even end up running out of the country, changing societies where they live, because people are making fun of them. You see those narrowing statements. So I wouldn't advise any young man to have the deal mentality. That is why I want each and every Ugandan to get a chance to read this book. and you open your mind to possibilities within reasonable and realistic perimeters. If Hamis made it, I can also do it. Hamis is not better than me. And even don't aim for getting what I have. Aim for getting better than what I have. Because I know you can make it. I told you I don't get comfort in where I am today. Because if I appreciate myself and get self-confidence, I'll lose focus on what I'm yet to get. So I can't waste all my energy appreciating on what I've got now. I have to focus on possibilities. And now, to a person like me, it's no longer about personal development. It is now about developing of my country and my society. That is why I'm constructing a stadium. That is why I'm putting up, I told you I would go aggressively into an agro-processing. That's why I'm putting up agro-processing industries. Now, at a very large scale. I'm doing all these things not in line with personal development. Because personal development I've achieved. I want to leave a legacy. I want to develop my fellow countrymen. I want to employ people. I want to show them that, yes, look here, it can be done. And if I get a number of them think in my direction, I think we can develop our motherland, Uganda at large. Any other questions?
Let's have one.
Play paper. The value of money does not lie in its paper form. The value of money lies in the things we use money for. If you've taken money and they've given you a car, if you are sick and you've given money to a doctor and he has healed you, that is the actual value of money. But most Ugandans have got attachment to money in its paper form. Someone keeps it and he says, this is my money. It can even lose value when you have it in your pocket. So, and you were saying, what's the difference between money and wealth? Money, anyone can have money. Like he talked about a dealer. When a dealer breaks a deal and gets money, that is merely money in its proper form, which is used and it. But wealth is beyond money. Wealth is when someone has got money and assets, but with almost no or limited liabilities. That is a wealth person. A wealth person is a person who can survive even without working. When wealth people go to shops to buy cars, they don't bargain or negotiate. Because it is not a question of affordability, it's a question of desire. When you reach that extent, when you no longer have to compromise what you want simply because of cost, then you will know that you're a wealthy person. When a wealthy person desires something, they simply pay it out. Wealthy people don't bargain that a car is 5 million, I'm going to give you 8. No. It is a question of satisfaction. So, but anyway, I advise to read my book. It is well elaborated. Briefly, one question and we go to Uganda, please.
Thank you so much. My name is Ruben. And you said in the quote, taking risks is a stage in the path to prosperity.
Yes.
How valid is that? Because risks are different and varied.
Yes, I best explained that when you go into the body of the book. I best explained that when I was talking about risk. What is the definition of risk? Risk is defined by the ability to surrender or sacrifice what you have on you with hope to gain more. So most people don't have that. I reached an extent and I gave you a very clear example. I told you an example of banks. I told you a collection of poor people look at money as savings. They take it and deposit it in banks in small collective quantities as saving. A rich man looks at it as capital. He goes to the bank and convinces it to give it to him as capital, that collected sum. Then he goes, invests, and even creates jobs for the poor. I even said rich people use poor people's money to actually grow their economic empires. Why? Because someone has attached a risk on it, and the other one fears to attach a risk. He says, instead of investing it, let me at least keep it in its form. They will give it back to me the way it is. Hope that answers your question. Yeah.